Uddhava heard Krishna speak Uddhava Gita, he was then traveling as instructed by Krishna to take the messages that he had received and pass them on to the associates of Narayan Rishi in the Himalayas. So he was traveling, and his travels met up with the travels of Vidura, and there was this nice exchange. And we read Srila Prabhupada's purport, where he's quoting directly from Lord Chaitanya's discussion with Rupa Goswami about receiving the seed of Bhakti Lata Bija, and then sowing the seed of Bhakti in the heart, and then by the process of hearing and chanting, nourishing the seed, sprouting the seed, growing the seed up to the mature stage, where the bhakti creeper grows and grows and grows and pierces the covering of the universe and enters into the vast spiritual sky and reaches its way to the lotus feet of Krishna, clings to the lotus feet of Krishna, produces flowers at the lotus feet of Krishna, and then finally the fruit of that creeper is bhakti. But it all starts with a seed. And the explanation given of that seed is an attraction. This is found elsewhere in Rupa Goswami's writings. The word that's used in this particular verse from Uddhava Gita, Krishna's talks with Uddhava, is ruchi. Ruchi means taste in a higher sense, but in the preliminary sense it's simply an attraction for hearing. Attraction for hearing kirtan. Lots of people have an attraction for hearing kirtan. Or just hearing the holy name. There was one devotee that wrote a letter some time ago who said, or wrote, I really enjoy hearing my 16 rounds of Maha Mantra every day. I thought that was very nice. Not just chanting, but specifically hearing the Maha Mantra 16 rounds every day. So, some attraction for hearing, or hearing the pastimes of Krishna, the qualities of Krishna, the activities of Krishna, the loving exchanges of Krishna. So many nice loving exchanges. And becoming attracted by the all-attractive Krishna. That's ruchi. And ruchi, in the maturing stage, manifests the fullness of Krishna's Rasa. Now that reference that we read last night is Lord Chaitanya's teachings to Rupa Goswami at Prayag, the Dashashvamedha Ghat at Prayag. And after instructing him for 30 days, he then instructed him, spend the rest of your life writing books expanding on the meanings that I have given you. He even specifically said, I invest in your heart full realization of everything that I've explained. Imagine. Not just, okay, now I remember it, or I understand it, but full realization. And he empowered him to write and expand those meanings, so he did. And one of those most outstanding and well-known fundamental texts of Rupa Goswami is what we know as nectar devotion, but in the Sanskrit form it's bhakti, rasa, amrita, sindhu. Here's this word, rasa. Rasa means mellow, or taste, or in the exchange of love, there is rasa. So the very first line, of the first verse of Nectar of Devotion, or Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, rather than using the name Krishna, Rupa Goswami presents Akilamrita Rasa. What's the last word? Vorti. Yeah, Vorti. Thank you. Akila Amrita Rasa Murti. Krishna is the form of unlimited rasa. There's a statement within the Vedas, within Vedanta Sutra. Raso vai saha. Very simple. Saha, that's this pronoun of the absolute truth, is rasa. And it's an ocean of rasa. It's an ocean of nectarian rasa, amrita rasa. There's an ocean of water and salt water, and according to Vedic cosmology, there's oceans of so many things. But Krishna is an ocean of amrita rasa. And the name similarly is none different than Krishna. The name Krishna is filled with unlimited rasa. Commonly, maybe because by conditioning we're selfish in our orientation, we think of rasa as something living entity experiences. Like, you come to know what is your rasa with Krishna. But the fact of the matter is, Krishna is rasa, and each of us has a relationship with Krishna. And so there's this like a ray of the unlimited jyoti of the sun. You may see a ray or some rays of the sunlight come into your window, but that's not the fullness of the sun. It's some rays coming in your window. So each of us has some rasa or some taste in our relationship with Krishna, but Krishna, is the fullness of rasa. And we spent some time during the Festival of the Holy Name discussing this topic of awakening nama rasa. So that's what we're going to do again, and just kind of repeat this little simplified version of that. And the goal, the objective of this time spent together is to give some encouragement, to nurture the attraction for reaching the fullness of what the chanting of the Holy Name can offer, does offer, but we're not accessing because of our limited attraction and our covered consciousness. So I like this image. This is that the process of bhakti begins with the hearing faculty. So the ear is the instrument, but the ear needs to have behind it some eagerness to hear and some refinement of hearing. Just like, maybe for example, somebody that's a refined musician, when they hear an orchestra they hear so many things that the untrained ear doesn't hear. But the trained ear hearing a really, really quality orchestration of some musical composition, it's outstanding. So similarly, we all have the faculty of hearing, and then there's quality hearing, and we're going to just explore a little bit some of the elements that will help in quality hearing. We'll start with another of Rupa Goswami's writings. Along with Nectar of Devotion, he wrote Nectar of Instruction. Nectar of Instruction is much smaller. It's far more compact. It's not expanded, but it's giving essences, or the Amrita of Upadesh. The Nectar of Instruction is about the same topic, the topic of bhakti. So, in text 7 of this Upadesh Amrita, Syat, whoops, it doesn't show. Syat, the first word, means arises, or from something, something else arises. So the Nama, Krishna Nama, and Charita, his name, his qualities, Adi, etc. Sita acts as a, we discussed this last night, it acts as a medicine for the jaundice of avidya. So the living entity in this material condition is a diseased condition. It's not a healthy condition. And just like in the disease condition where pitta has become excessive, you know, from Ayurveda, kapha, pitta, and vayu, where pitta is excessive, it's an indication of a liver disease, jaundice. When the liver is not functioning properly, pitta rises, and the symptoms are known by the disease of jaundice. And the cure, or a cure, for jaundice is sita, or misri, or rock candy. I remember in science class, it was grade school science class, you learned how to make rock candy. And then we got to eat it. Everyone loved that class. But you know, without all the explanation of how we did it, we learned how to do it and put the string in this thing, this little place where we kept the sugar and the water and mixed them and left it overnight, and sure enough, rock candy in the morning. And then we took them out and didn't offer it to Krishna, we just ate it. So, rock candy is it has the effect of curing the jaundice condition of the liver. So similarly, in a metaphor way, living entity's disease is avidya. And the name and the character and quality and pastime of Krishna is the rock candy, or misri, or sita in Sanskrit. And it has a potency of curing the disease, curing the avidya. We discussed. From Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, a summary verse. By the process of bhakti, Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojataha Janiyati Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam cha yad ahaitukam. Hetu means cause, and ahetu or ahaituki means without cause. Causelessly, knowledge awakens within the soul, because knowledge is the capacity of the soul. It's sat chit ananda. It's already there. Knowledge is already there, but dormant, because the consciousness, original consciousness of the soul is dormant. So there's some knowledge capacity, just like I had this medicine bottle, and I put it on the windowsill. And in the morning, there were too many ants, I couldn't count them all. They found the bottle. They have some radar capacity. Hey guys, there's some yummy stuff over here. And they found it, and they were zooming all over. So then I knew what to do. Wash the bottle, put it in this little place where it had water surrounding the bottle. They couldn't jump in. They had to go away and find another bottle or another yummy place. So there's knowledge capacity within even an ant or within microbial germ, what to speak of human beings, but very dull, very, very, very dull, and directed towards asat, not directed towards sat. We discussed this word existential condition of the living entity. That's their sat capacity, their awareness of the eternal, the awareness of Krishna, the supreme eternal. That's one existential condition. So the existential condition, or the wellness, the healthy condition of the soul is restored by the medicine. And it's medicine that's taken through the ear. Bhavo sadach shrota mano biramat. It goes from the ear to the mind to the heart. And so this verse, composed by Rupa Goswami, text 7, says, the holy name, character, pastimes, and activities of Krishna are all transcendentally sweet like sugar candy. Put in big letters, Sita. It has different. Sita can mean furrow, like Mother Sita, but it can mean this one too. Although the tongue of one afflicted by the jaundice of avidya cannot taste anything sweet, it is wonderful that simply by carefully chanting these sweet names every day, a natural relish awakens within his tongue, and his disease is gradually destroyed at the root. So we're going to spend a little time discussing this rock candy effect of the name. Of course, the other parts follow the name, quality, pastimes, form. But it starts with the name. In this age, there's this sequence: Nama, Rupa, Guna, Lila. Again, Nama, Rupa, Guna, Lila. Nama, Rupa, from absorption in the sound of the name, the form of Krishna becomes revealed. Not any separate effort is needed. Within the sound, Krishna, the form of Krishna is present and revealed. And then following the form, the qualities, and following the qualities, the pastimes. It's everything is there within the name. That Akhila Amrita Rasa Murti is available all in one little nifty package. You don't have to go to Kmart or Walmart or Target. You just go to the name and everything is there. everything. And it removes this quality of ignorance. Another important verse written by Rupa Goswami in the same Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is this message here. Atakshi Krishna Namadi Nabhaved Grayam Indriyai Sevan Mukhihi Jivadau Swayameva Svaratyada. Emphasis is going to this word Jiva, which means tongue. Same as in this other verse in Nectar of Construction. Where's the word Jiva? It's here. Let's see. Okay. The verse says in simple terms that realization of God is not easy, but it's possible when one controls the senses, starting with the tongue. And the process of the tongue, or the function of the tongue, is two: making some sound, vibrating, making some sound. The birds do, the frogs do, the forms of life that have a tongue, they make a sound. And the other is tasting. So if we direct these functions of the tongue, vibrating sound and tasting, in connection with Krishna, then controlling the sense of tongue in that way, the other senses become more easily controlled, the mind becomes then controlled, and then realization of Krishna becomes possible. Say it negatively. Without controlling the mind and senses, realization of Krishna is not possible. You could say it more gently, it'll be very difficult. Say it more realistically, it won't be possible. So Rupa Goswami derives his teachings, of course, from the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, he gives this description. Similarly, the first two in text 1 describe this cleansing of the capacity of our power of speech. Cheto Darpana Marjanam. Cheto Darpana Marjanam. That the chanting and hearing of the name cleanses the mirror of the mind. Cheta Darpana Marjanam. Cheta means mind or consciousness. Darpana Marjanam. The heart or the mind or consciousness becomes cleansed by the name. And then the next sequence is Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam. Agni means fire, and Davagni is a blazing forest fire. Mahadavagni, that's material existence, a big blazing fire of material existence, becomes extinguished by the fire of material existence becomes extinguished by the chanting of the holy name. And I'm just going to make some quick reference to these texts, which would be nice you want to look them up later. Chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita is Dhyan Yoga and process of the Eightfold Yoga System, speaking of the stage of meditation when it becomes in its complete form, Dhyan Dharana Samadhi. These verses are describing Samadhi. The verse just previous, 19, is when that state of absorption of the mind is there one experiences a happiness within that you cannot depart from by any attraction to something outside. you can't leave that happiness. It's so strong. And then in these verses, it's 4 verses translated together, it's describing what that stage of samadhi looks like. And in that stage of samadhi, there are symptoms that correspond with these first 2 stages of chanting the holy name. When expressing is 2 things. 1, by chanting the holy name properly, the stage of samadhi is yours. And there are symptoms, and these first 2 are symptoms of nirvana. Read the purport, you'll see. Nirvana is a Sanskrit term that Buddha, although he rejected the Vedas, he liked Sanskrit terms. And nirvana is the goal. I mean, the negative is become free from suffering. Buddha taught the root of suffering is desire, so to become free from suffering, become free from desire. And then he offered a process, which was meditation, and also negation of some things. You know, the vidhis and the nishedhas, the injunctions and the prohibitions that lead to the stage of nirvana. Prabhupada explains in this purport, nirvana means, quote, cessation of material activity, unquote. So, what's nirvana? Cessation of material existence. Well, what's that? Nothing. That's what nirvana is. A state of nothingness. Well, your suffering is over because you don't do anything. You don't desire anything. And you're like under anesthesia. No pain. No suffering. When the anesthesia wears off, good luck. Here comes the pain again. But what's on the other side? Because I was just in China, I was explaining this a lot to people because a lot of people view themselves as Buddhists, or at least like notional Buddhists at least. And when they hear the question, what's on the other side of nirvana? They don't even know what nirvana is. But what's on the other side of nirvana? It's jaw-dropping, blank stare invoking. Huh? Because there is something on the other side of nirvana. And that's what samadhi, these verses discuss. That's what the holy name takes one to, into the realm of what's beyond nirvana. Let that sink in for a minute. So, right in that purport, Srila Prabhupada refers to Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9, Text number 6, where what's on the other side of nirvana is liberation, or the activities of the living entity in his liberated state. The permitted situation of the form of the living entity. The Sanskrit term is here, Swarupena Vyavastati. Anyone that's read Prabhupada's books or has heard him lecture is very familiar with that phrase. Sva Rupa means one's own form. The spiritual form of the soul. Not the body, not the mind. The spiritual form of the soul. And the activities, that's good, yeah. The activities of that spiritual form, after he has given up the changeable, gross and subtle material bodies, of course that can happen in this very lifetime. Not that you give up your body, that's death. But the identification with the body, although you may use it in service to Krishna, but one may achieve that liberated state even in this lifetime. The classic example is that of Narada Muni, who lived his life according to the instruction of the personality of Godhead, as was taught to him by the Bhakti Vedantas who he met as a small boy. And Narada describes to Vyas, when the time of death came, when the soul left the body at the time of death, simultaneously, as with lightning and illumination, not lightning and thunder, immediately his form, his spiritual form, manifests. Now this is very high, but it's the potency of the process that we've been so mercifully given. So beyond nirvana is this path of yoga, and specifically the topmost of the yoga systems is the bhakti yoga process. And even while moving through material existence over here on the right, or a battlefield over there on the left if you're Arjuna, or whatever your occupation and circumstance of life may be. Maybe you're still a student, or maybe you're this or that. But passing through all those circumstances on the path to Krishna, that's where this Bhakti Yoga path takes one. And then we know what our activities are, at least in principle, and gradually it becomes more and more realized. And then there's again this ocean, this Ambudhi. But as there's a salt ocean, there's this Amrita Ambudhi, or Ananda Ambudhi, an ocean of Ananda that you can access through the Amrita Ananda. Amrita Sindhu, this nectar of devotion. And finally comes the Prema stage. This is again an image of Rupa Goswami describing the stages of bhakti that are all outlined right in Lord Chaitanya's teachings, Shikshamrita. One of the symptoms of this stage of prema is it derides even the conception of liberation. Rupa Goswami quotes in another one of his books, Padyavali, a text from Sridhar Swami. I'll just say it in simple language. It's very poetically and beautifully written. But Sridhar Swami says, in the process of impersonal liberation, although one may go very high with impersonal pursuit, there's no shelter there. And nor has anyone been able to permanently forego the tendency for fruitive activity, which is the disease of a living entity. But the name and the bhakti process completely has the power to dissolve the material mind and the affinity of the living entity for fruitive activity. So which is a better process? That which has never cured the disease, or one that has the power to cure the disease? He reasons in this way. There's a verse that in the New York temple, for years as a brahmachari, we would recite this just after Mangalarti. So I know the verse very well. Bahu janma kariyati shabada kirtana tavutana paya Krishna pade premadana. If one is infested with the 10 offenses and the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, despite his endeavor to chant the holy name for many births, he will not get the love of Godhead, which is the ultimate goal of this chanting. And as you see, there's the reference. It's found in Adi Lila chapter 8. Now we just want to read something very simple from the purport that's the whole basis of my message today. And well, while I'm looking up the exact language, it says that if you want, let's make, rather than a question, every one of us engaged in chanting is at some level, and we're hearing about these higher levels, so we know that there's this big gap between where we are and what we know, and we would like to close that gap between where we are and what we know. And one of this verse is speaking is, overcoming offenses will help you get to where you want to go. And in order to develop that consciousness of overcoming offenses, it's important to make a transition, oh there it is, right there, to make a transition between offensive and offenseless chanting, or put it in simple terms, making a transition between the ignorance of ignoring Krishna to bringing our consciousness to Krishna. So the disease of the living entity is ignorance. We're discussing this several times now since being here. Buddhists say Buddha says, the root cause of suffering is desire. Vaishnava teaching speaks differently. That is, the root of suffering is ignorance, and due to ignorance, living entities have ignorant desire. And with ignorant desire comes ignorant activity. With ignorant activity comes suffering. So the problem is not desire. The problem is ignorance. And when you remove ignorance, you have desire that's properly directed, or healthy desire. Desire in itself is not the problem. It's not become a stone. And then when you become a stone, there's nothing. And it's a state of nothingness. And then you don't suffer. But you remove ignorance and you have pure desire. So what's that pure desire state? That pure desire state is the constitutional position of living entity to be Krishna's servant. So here's what Prabhupada writes. One is understood to be an eternal servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead if he considers himself an eternal servant of the holy name, and in this spirit distributes the holy name to the world. To associate with the holy name and chant the holy name is to associate with the personality of Godhead directly. The holy name becomes manifest, that's this form, qualities, etc. The holy name becomes manifest when one engages in the service of the holy name. So when chanting, this is a key or a clue or a solution to the disease, is the mood of service to the name. Now, one of the impetuses for trying to do that nicely is we don't like to suffer. But something happens when suffering diminishes, and that is our effort slackens, and we become complacent. Yes? Yes. Say it again. If the impetus is reducing of suffering, and the suffering reduces, then we become complacent. Tendency. I'm okay, everything's fine, hunky-dory, so I just move on. Thank you, Krishna. You helped me overcome my distress. See you later. Fair weather friend is the expression in English. So there is a higher principle, and it's important to ask why. I'm assuming this is a little bit not introductory question, but why is it, you could say, why do I chant, or why do I want to improve my chanting? There's what I know, and there's where I am, and there's a big gap. So wanting to close the gap. But why would one want to close the gap? Then comes, whatever the answer is one's intention or sankalpa. Vast part, maybe 85–90% of the Vedas are dealing with karma kanda rituals. It's even mentioned within the Bhagavatam, Canto 2. And if one wants good health, one worships the sun. If one wants a good wife, one worships Uma. If one wants knowledge, one worships Saraswati, and so forth and so on. One wants prowess in battle, one worships this one, that one, the other one. So, according to desire, sometimes the Vedas are compared to a desire tree, kalpataru, that fulfills all desire. So when we have material bodies, we have material desires. That's why we have material bodies. And so to fulfill the desires of the material body and mind, the Vedas have some means of getting what you want to fulfill your desire. And so there's this procedure. You acquire a qualified priest, and the qualified priest, upon hearing your sankalpa, your intention, what is it that you desire, then he knows the mantras. There's this big stockpile of mantras, and he knows which ones. And he knows which deva or devi to approach, and propitiates the deva and requests Ganesh to remove the obstacles and state your sankalpa. It's important to know what your sankalpa is. And that's in karma kanda. So what to speak of now in spiritual life? In spiritual life, meaning going beyond fulfillment of material desire to the higher goal of life. Why would you want to go to the higher goal of life? Whatever the answer to that question is, that's what your sankalpa is. I'm giving this explanation because it will help you improve your chanting and your devotion to Krishna. If you know the answer to why, not just what, because we can read books and find out what, but if the why is not strong, we'll find ourselves only intermittently doing the what. But if the why is very strong, we'll find out what the what is, and then we'll do the what because the why is still very strong. Yes? It's important, I'll say it again. If the why, if you haven't asked that question, why, you're not going to progress very quickly. To ask the question why, it's uncomfortable. Because then you realize, gee, the light's out. I've been leading a mechanical life. It's painful to recognize, without all the details of what the options of why we may be pious or think is important to be, but for the deeper stages of the goal of all of the Vedas, which is beyond pious life and fulfillment of desire, the why. And when the why is made very clear, when I'm engaged in chanting, what's my intention? Well, maybe I just want relief of my suffering. Okay, that's easy. It's easy in comparison to the higher goal. But if the higher goal, to the degree that the higher goal is made clear, then comes the what, or what the process is. The activities acting in one's relationship with Krishna or Abhideya, the activities of bhakti. It's right there in Nectar of Devotion or Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And then this what has this capacity to please Krishna. And that goes back to the intention is to please Krishna. Anukulyena Krishna Anushilano. Then comes how. Okay, there's the why and the what, and now how. A mood. How is the mood with which you engage in chanting, driven by the why consideration. And there's a very nice song, amongst many nice songs, written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. A section of songs, as you may know, Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote 100 books. That's a lot of books. Try, writing something. Try write an essay on the holy name. How long is that going to take you? He wrote, so one of his books is Gitavali. Gitavali. When we sing Jaya Radha Madhava, it's one of the songs from Gitavali. Many nice songs. And there's 8 songs specifically glorifying Nama Prabhu, or Namastaka. And one of those songs is Jai Jai Harinam. And there's a recording of the translation. So listen carefully. It's very nicely done. I hope the volume is up full.
All glories to the holy name of the Lord, the abode of immortal transcendental bliss. The supreme absolute truth, who possesses an eternal form of sacred syllables, has descended in the form of the holy name. Thereby, he shows mercy to his own devotees, while showering boundless compassion upon all fallen souls. All glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who's called by different names such as Hari, Krishna, and Rama. He is the auspicious resting place of all living entities within the universe, and he delights the minds of all souls. Wise sages maintain great reverence for his holy name and constantly sing it by filling their mouths with the sound. O Lord Krishna, in the form of name syllables, you possess all supreme powers and are engaged in bestowing pure auspiciousness upon the living beings. Without you, there is no other friend to rescue us from the ocean of material existence. You have come for the deliverance of all fallen souls. For all souls within this world, there is much misery and sorrow. Oh Harinam, if someone calls upon you just once, feeling himself very meek and lowly, possessing nothing and seeing no other remedy for his relief, you then easily destroy all his sorrows. If one simply obtains a faint glimpse of your actual identity, then all sorts of terrible miseries are cast far away. Indeed, the very form of suffering itself is easily broken to pieces. Bhakti Vinod says, all glories to the holy name of Lord Hari. Oh Harinam, oh Harinam, I perpetually fall to the ground in hope of attaining your lotus feet. Oh Harinam, I perpetually fall to the ground in hope of attaining your lotus feet.
Powerful song. Aside from the mood of submission, one of the important elements in this song is specifically that the syllables are the name. The syllables are the form. There's two syllables, Krishna. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur expands the same principle to say that the form of Krishna and the syllables of Krishna are the same. Or say it differently. It's not that when you chant nicely with absorption, then suddenly, somewhere off in the distance, there's the form. Now, Krishna may choose to also do that, manifest his forms in front of you or some distant place. Because Krishna is unlimited and he can expand himself. But the message of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's song and our Vaishnava teaching is the sound is the form. The form is in the sound. And we'll realize the form and qualities and pastimes of Krishna within the sound. Very powerful sound. It's easy to make the sound. It's another to hear the sound. And so the hearing is potency is very important. In addition to making the sound through chanting, we need to overcome the distracted condition of the mind. One of my dear friends in Krishna consciousness is Rabindra Swarup Prabhu. We were initiated the same day before Radha Govinda in New York. And the paths of our life were somewhat different. He became a PhD philosophy professor and scholar and married and had several children. And I went on to become a sannyasi, but we had association over the time. And his explanation of chanting is very simple. There's three things. There's you, there's the name, and there's the mind. And the challenge, the job assignment, is to bring the mind to the name. And it's difficult because the mind is distracted, absorbed in asat, temporary things, past, present, past and future, generally not with the name. And so one of the recommendations of this evening, and making reference to Shikshashtaka, etc., is the mood of service to the name. And constitutionally, that's who we are. We're Krishna's servants. We've all heard Prabhupada speak like this. We've heard his lectures. Take away all the differences of all living entities and what's left. We're constitutionally servants. So we may deny, I don't like that language, being a servant, but we're all servants. We're servants of some master or masters. The teacher, the servant of the student, the parents of the teacher, the servant of their children, the head of state is the servant of the people, and whatever your position may be, we're always serving someone, something, or multiple services, because it's who we are, constitutionally, and ultimately service to the Supreme. We're just forgetful of the Supreme. That's ignorance. We're forgetful of who it is that we're serving. We're thinking otherwise. We're serving something or someone other than the Supreme, other than Krishna. So Krishna consciousness doesn't mean you drop those services. It means you do them in the consciousness that they're meant for the pleasure of Krishna. And how to get there? It's through chanting in the mood of service to the name. That's what we read in this purport of Chaitanya Charitamrita. The form of Krishna, the presence of Krishna will become experienced by you to the degree that you're in the service of the name and calling the name in the mood of service to the name. Because it's true. All of our services in Krishna consciousness arise from chanting and hearing. So it's true. It's not something artificial. It's just recognizing the reality. And that there's something that we do every day, because we're recommended to do it, is chanting every day. And when chanting every day, we can overcome this distracted chanting by the mood of service. At least I have found it's had a profound effect in the quality of my chanting, or the limiting the distractedness of my chanting. There's so many services, but unto whom? The name. And just stay there, particularly when chanting. The name is service to the name. And then all the other services that you do throughout the day will be conscious of the person who you're serving. And that's the name, or Krishna. But the name and the person aren't different. So that's the second part. The name and the person aren't different. So to say service to the name doesn't mean not the service to the person. It is the service to the person. It's the means the person is given to connect us with him, is his name. Golokera Premadana Harinama Sankirtana. Our Acharya is right that the holy name has descended from Goloka for us. And when the distracted chanting dissolves, we have this chanting instead where we're in the mood of serving the name with intention. And when we have that intention, then our attention goes to the name. Here's a graphic that says the same thing. There's a cooking pot, and there's a flame at the bottom. And the closer our attention, that's the pot, is to the mantra, that's the fire, the sooner we're going to be able to cook that pot of rice. The closer the pot is to the fire, the quicker your cooking is going to take place. Now we don't have to worry about, overboiling the water, because, we're get too much attentive to the name. That could be a problem. Don't worry about that. The consciousness becomes purified through this, this contemporary phrase is mindfulness. That's where attentiveness goes to the mantra. And intention will help, or more than help. It's necessary to maintain attentiveness. If you're clear what your intention is, why. I'll say it one more time. Negatively, if you're not clear why, it'll be very difficult to maintain attentiveness. Say it positively. When you're very clear why, it empowers, it strengthens your attentiveness. And the purification will take place more quickly. And then the rasa of the name will be something you taste instead of doing as a duty. I can share this with you that as a traveling sannyasi, there are certain questions that get asked a lot. And I would say this is one of the top 5. When, Kabi Habi Bolo Se Dinamar. When will that day come when my chanting will no longer just be mechanical, but there's some attraction? And here's the answer. I've been trying at least to convey. Servant to the name, just keeping it really simple. Servant of the name when chanting. Try it. Absorb yourself in that mood of the reality. We're servants of the name. And the name is Krishna, the form of Krishna, everything that is Krishna, the whole spiritual world is there within his name. We're the servant of the name. Try it. And an obstacle is we have this original ignorance blocking us, and the ignorance of ignoring Krishna. Very powerful, long-standing, deep-rooted ignorance. Doesn't go away quickly. But service mood is stronger, and it will help you. So here's a few verses, and I think we're going to be done. This famous verse from Padma Purana that says, Abhinatvam Nama Nami, the name, and the Nama and Nami are Abhina, are non-different. So the name and the person are non-different. And in each and every one of Krishna's names, he's fully present. This is Lord Chaitanya's teaching. And when there's attentiveness, one can experience it. Even, slightly, it's ecstatic. What to speak of fully. In reverse logic, another Bhaktivinoda Thakur writing Harinam Chintamani, actually the holy name never comes from the mouths of Mayavadis. For although the syllables may be heard, Nama Prabhu with all his transcendental potency does not reside there. There's a difference between the syllables and the person. Although for the devotee there isn't a difference. The syllables and the person are the same. But if one is an offender like that, Nama Prabhu disappears or does not appear. Another, this is Prema Vivarta, a writing of one of Lord Chaitanya's beloved associates, Jagatananda Pandit. One cannot chant the holy name of Lord Krishna purely in the company of non-devotees. The sound and syllables of the name may be uttered, but that is not real chanting. So chanting in the association of devotees or under the guidance and training of genuine devotees. There's lots of chanting out there these days, not only in India, but all over America, where the chanting is done by Mayavadis. A lot. There are different mantras, including the Maha Mantra, without details. So, there's a mood. This is taken from a Srila Prabhupada lecture in New York, way back in the early days of the Hare Krishna movement, where he's describing Shikshastaka. The mood of chanting the name is praying to Krishna, please accept me. Lord Chaitanya taught that we should simply cry, and we should simply pray for accepting us, that's all. So, this vibration is simply a cry for addressing the Supreme Lord, requesting Him, please accept me, please accept me. Because we left Him, we ignored Him, and we got covered with ignorance, and we suffered a lot, not only, last few years, or this lifetime. Who knows how many lifetimes? And when the little light goes on that says, this is not natural, it's a diseased condition, the mood of prayer to become a servant of the holy name. Now, I won't disclose who shared this with me, but hearing this message during the Festival of the Holy Name, one devotee wrote a little note to me saying, here's me on the top. I'm sorry, I'm out of service, I'm broken, I don't work. But then Krishna's reply, that's okay, doesn't matter, I'm here for you. Just hear me. That's a relationship. On our side, we're calling out, and on Krishna's side, I know who you are, I know what you are. I accept you, please just hear my name, or please just hear me. This is a repeat of that message from Adi Lila, chapter 8, text 16. One is understood to be an eternal servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead if he considers himself an eternal servant of the Holy Name. And in that spirit distributes the Holy Name to the world. This is a scene for those of you that don't recognize it. Lord Nityananda, in his blue dhoti over here, was trying to give the holy name to these two rascals, dacoits, bad fellows, Jagai and Madhai, in a public marketplace. And they were drunk, and they threw a clay pot and hit him in the head and drew blood. And Lord Nityananda said, that's all right, just chant the holy name. Lord Chaitanya heard that they hit him in the head, and he came with the Sudarshan chakra raised, ready to finish them. And Lord Nityananda pleaded with Lord Chaitanya, no, purify them. And so he did. They became great devotees. A couple of little points. This is amplifying the same message. This is a Mother Teresa quote. Someone shared this with me. I thought it was appropriate. Don't think for love to be genuine, it has to be extraordinary. Do small things with great love. It is in the small things that our strength lies. Nice statement. And so for us, how it's relevant is one name at a time. Chant one name without distraction, with full attention, with deep absorption. Very, very powerful. Of course, we have many names, in the course of chanting one round, there's a lot of names. In the course of chanting 16 rounds at 25,000 opportunities. Prabhupada gave the math to one disciple. Just chant one name without offense. Your life is perfect. Last point is, someone may say, well, wait a minute, you're speaking about serving Namaprabhu. Are we just jumping over the spiritual master and serving him directly? Is that okay? And the answer is, it's under the instruction of the spiritual master to do this. And it's by that mercy of the instruction of Lord Chaitanya that comes down in disciplic succession to the spiritual master to call the name. And so we're supposed to make some endeavor. That's one of our functions. And endeavor executed with intelligence and Krishna consciousness is called utsaha, or enthusiasm. So the intelligence is, we're not just depending upon our own effort, but we're depending upon Krishna, because we're not independent, we're dependent. So I want to end. There's a couple more slides, but I think I'm going to end. Can we turn the lights on? Maybe we should turn the AC on too. It's stuffy in here. Turn the AC off because of the noise, right?
No, AC is on.
AC is on?
Yeah, but it's not effective. The door was open. Now it is okay. It will, another 15 minutes will be okay.
15 minutes, all right. Very perspirational. Okay. So any thoughts? Should I summarize? Summary. Two things. Serve the name. 2. The name and the person are non-different. Abhinatvam nama namino. Nama and nami are non-different. Therefore, service to the name is service to the person. Name. It's a Sanskrit grammar rule, nama and nami. The nami is the sound vibration of the object, like water. And the sound, water, and the object are not the same because it's material. But the sound, Krishna, and the person, Krishna, the object, are the same because it's all spiritual. We're directly associating with Krishna. We're not qualified. We have contaminated consciousness. We rejected Krishna. We in principle, asserted our free will. I want to enjoy independently of you. Off I go. And here we are, in the world of illusion, of the place of darkness, literally, not just figuratively or philosophically. It's a place of darkness. And we've been doing it for too many lifetimes. We don't know how many. Too many. And there's like lots of layers of ignorance covering us. And it's a fearful place. Not a happy place. There's some sense gratification, some things, and then there's lots of disappointments. And then even the sense gratification fades and then we're chasing it again. That's not what we wanted. We wanted happiness that doesn't end. And happiness that's always increasing. That's what we wanted. But we made the wrong choice. So therefore this please accept me message. With humility in the heart. Hands raised, calling just like a child calling for mother. What does mother do? stop crying. Mother's not going to do that. Mother will pick up the child and give the child shelter and safety. That's what mothers do. And that's what Krishna does. And however many times we need to do that, we do that. And Krishna will, every time. Not like an order supplier, but out of love. Krishna's loving. We went the other direction, not him. So, to restore that consciousness is the means, is the name for this age in particular, and serve the name. And it take care of all the other misplaced ideas of service that we have. Service to the senses, service to our ambitions, service to our greed, service to lust, service to anger, service to illusion. So many other servants, masters we have that control our lives non-stop. Serve Krishna through service to his name. Any discussion? Yeah.
Kulaj, I have two questions. The first question is during Deepanagari retreat there was this whole discussion about empathic communication, dealing with or understanding that there's needs within, and one of the primordial need is the need for acceptance. I think from a psychological perspective, the need for appreciation, the need for belonging are very much tied to this need for acceptance. So, we pursue so many things in this world trying to be accepted.
Misplaced.
And all of that needs can be satisfied fully
By what?
by just that
And
relationship.
conversely not satisfied by all the others. 241 Bhagavad Gita. Bahushakha Yanastasya. Bhudayogi Avasayana. Yeah. So? You're just looking for verification to...
I was just
Yeah.
making a comment and looking
Yeah.
for
Did you catch that? No. During Gita Nagari retreat, in Memorial Day weekend, every year we have a retreat in Gita Nagari. And this year, two topics, Vaishnava compassion and nonviolent communication. Nonviolent communication a la Marshall Rosenberg, who taught it, dear Krishna Maharaj, who studied with him for 5-6 years, and then Krishnaized his teaching. Then he gave the Krishnaized teaching. And one of the teachings is, each of us has some need. And when needs are not met, we're unhappy. And our communication is not effective and not respectful and so forth. And to have good communication with others, we need to know what their needs are. So his point is, one of those essential needs that everyone has is the need for a sense of belonging, a sense of acceptance, a sense of self-worth, and all of those basic needs. And we seek fulfillment of those needs in so many ways, social ways and other ways. However, if one meets that need in terms of acceptance from and by Krishna, will that not fulfill those needs? The answer is yes, it will fulfill those needs. And conversely, we may feel some sense of acceptance over here, or being part of something over there, or whatever it is, because we're social beings. But it's incomplete no matter what it is. There's always the pinch of something's missing, if we're honest. And then we're searching for, fullness, because there's emptiness or lack of fullness. So the primordial need is this being again connected with Krishna. Fortunately, the human form of life has that capacity. Unfortunately, the animal and lower species of life don't have that capacity. And if human beings don't fulfill that capacity, they're acting like animals unless. That's very unfortunate, the greatest misfortune. And so the encouragement is become fortunate. And take this, fulfill this need in a way that actually the need will be fulfilled. Second?
Second question is related to this idea, not idea, but the philosophical truth that you're expressing, that we have broken our relationship with Krishna, we have walked away from Krishna. Why it's a statement, yet it needs to become a realization, so that why is very strong.
Yes, that's right.
How does that realization come? So
by
that
asking the question. It won't come if you don't ask the question. Inquisitiveness, Brahma Jigyasa, in the language of Vedanta Sutra. Inquisitiveness, I want to know. We discussed it the other evening, in the evening class. I want to know. Because otherwise, it's high schoolish. We can check the box, get an A in our exam, and we still don't know. It's inadequate. I'm not wrong, but it's inadequate. And it's what a lot of us do, because we're very used to that education system where you just, take the information, put it on your hard drive, they ask you the question, and press the button, and out comes the answer, you get an A in your exam. We know how to information process, but not transformation of consciousness. You don't know that one. We're not encouraged to do it either. Didn't help the gross national product. Doesn't help you achieve in your career, which is the goal, because then you get a good job and you get money and then you can be happy and enjoy it. That's what you're supposed to do, and you get rewarded for it. Behavioral psychology. Go for where we get the cheese. There's no happiness there. At some point, the light goes on. There's another reality I want to know what that is. Not just, I can get an A in my exam. I want to know.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, I have 3 questions.
Yeah.
The first one is the mode of service to Nama Prabhu. So having the knowledge that Krishna's name and form is non-different, syllables are the forms, but I want to know the technique during the chanting. So
you want to know the which?
The technique for the quality chanting.
Attentiveness. And behind attentiveness is intention. Supposing I'm a businessman. I'm not. But supposing I'm a businessman. What's my intention? Get money. Because money's the honey. Get money. So where's my attention go? Wherever I'm going to get money. That's where my attention goes, because behind is the intention. So, you want to know, and I'm saying, you know, be clear what your intention is. Why? Not superficial, not textbook, but, you know, in your heart of hearts. That takes work. You know, we're too busy to do work like that. We're too busy being successful. Being responsible. You know, doing our duties very carefully and diligently and like we've been taught. So it's not to say be neglectful in your duties. It's go inside and understand why. There's an answer. Keep, and layers and layers and layers, and keep going. Just keep going. It's a project. You know, in the corporate world, they have project leads. It's our project. Why? What's really important to you? Not what others expect of you, but what's important to you. And that's not that what others expect of you is a 0, but it's not a 10 either. Align those things of what other people expect of you with what's deep inside, eternally important to you. And keep going with it. And then keep trying to align your attention with that. And then with attention comes your speech and your behaviors. And association with sadhu sangha, will help you uncover the answer to that question. But it's still, you got to ask the question. They're not going to ask it and give you the answer. But they may ask it, but you have to give the answer.
Maharaj, my next question is, several years ago when I started chanting regularly, I felt like my consciousness, my state of mind, I felt a lot of taste, a lot of attraction, and a completeness.
And then?
Even though I was not much aware of the glories of the holy name at that time, but years of hearing and reading, I'm striving to get that same state, but it's not coming. I'm not getting that again. I miss that. I still have that in the back of my mind, that experience I had when I initially started chanting, that I'm not experiencing that, even though I'm striving for quality chanting. Is it because of offenses or complacency?
Yes. Both.
So how to improve that and get back to that initial...
Hit the reset button. And say, my dear Lord Krishna. You take that feeling to Krishna. It's Rupa Goswami's teaching. I could give the Sanskrit in detail, but just keep it simple. You take that feeling to Krishna. My dear Lord Krishna, I have been offensive. My dear Lord Krishna, you've relieved me of so much distress, and now I've become complacent. And I regret both. I want to make the endeavor, but I know that that's not sufficient. I need your mercy. Cheshta and mercy, or kripa. Right in one of those slides. We make some effort in dependence upon Krishna, because the consciousness of dependence upon Krishna was not as strong then as it needs to be now. A lot of cleansing took place really fast. Really, really nice experience, taste, etc., etc. And then offenses and complacency, and now it's covered again. Although in the back of your mind there's remembrances of that sweetness. Take the emotion, do a reset on the why, because now it should be more mature than when you started a couple of years ago, and write it down. I mean, not it's between you and Krishna, but for your own conscious illumination. Why? And go visit it, revisit it from time to time, and refine it. If that's nice. I know one devotee. I won't say their name. For 6 years, they've provided me with a written sankalpa, and for 6 years, they've been pursuing it. And you want to know something? They're getting closer, because they're very clear about the why, and then the what, and then they're refining the how, because they're invested in the why. If one is lazy, one isn't going to do that. It's a lot of work. I'm busy. I'm busy being successful and responsible and dutiful and a good mother and a good housewife and a good whatever else, all the other roles you have. I'm like really busy. Got so much. I hardly have time for myself. Do it anyway, because it'll drive the quality of everything that you do up. But to speak of the goal of life. Take some time each day. And then this devotee's phrase is to refine and recalibrate. Here's where I am, here's the obstacle, here's the goal. Let me realign myself to the goal, and then I can have the clarity of consciousness to address the obstacle. That's inside. It's not somebody out there, it's something inside. This devotee's become a very, very powerful devotee through the medium of mercy and effort. That's just a little detail on the effort part. Krishna's ready. We're complacent. I mean, and that's, not to say that you're lazy, but some complacency compared to the initial, wow, this is wonderful. And the inevitable consequence of, you can say, mistakes or offenses, even not intentional, deliberate offenses, but offensive, like the offense of inattentiveness.
My next question is almost similar to this one. When obstacles or difficulties are intense, sadhana gets weaker, even though
No.
trying.
Sadhana gets stronger.
I'm saying for myself.
And I'm saying, think otherwise. Because I need more mercy. Yet I'm passing through this period of difficulty. Just like a child. Cry out louder. Scream! So you call out with more intensity, not weaker. The mood of calling for mercy, natural. Now it doesn't have to be necessarily ostentatious or loud or showy. It's something from within. It'll strengthen your bhakti. Obstacles. The potential is there to strengthen your bhakti. Determination, faith, calling out in the mood of Krishna, please help me. Not, I'm at the center, your service is at the center, and there's an obstacle in the way of your service. I wish to overcome this obstacle so I can be a better instrument in your service. Stay focused in the pleasure of Krishna when an obstacle comes. And comes on even very strong. It's not unique to you.
Yeah.
I know that territory very well. Honestly. So what I'm speaking from is not what you should do and I don't do. It's the proper way is you do. And then comes the strength to explain to others. And then you can be a better mother and a better community member and a better everything. Because that consciousness has become stronger.
I do like mild obstacles, Maharaj.
Huh?
I do like mild obstacles, but when there is always some distress or anxiety in a mild way, the sadhana is very strong at that
But
time.
that anxiety has to do with forgetfulness of Krishna. The external isn't the cause of anxiety. It's the weak connection with Krishna that's the anxiety. So go back and do the reset. Your shelter, your life mission is connecting with Krishna. And do a reset on that one. And you know, the obstacle is what it is. And there's you. And your shelter in Krishna. Try it, and practice it, and it becomes second nature. This fear and stress and all those things, they arise from identification, according to the Bhagavatam, identification with the body. And with that identification with the body, forgetfulness of who you are, and forgetfulness of the mercy of Krishna. So the question came yesterday evening, how do we get beyond this bodily conception? We have this whole explanation. It's a project. It's the Bhakti project. But put Krishna's pleasure at the foreground, otherwise it's just, the struggle is unending. We need Krishna's help. We can't do this alone. But He's loving and He will help us. And we have community devotee members that can help give us the strength and the instruction and the courage and the everything else we need. You're not alone. Yes. Here comes the microphone. Over here, over here. There we go.
Hare Krishna. This mode of service, it is same as the mode of gratitude or
Mood of what?
Mode of gratitude
Gratitude.
or
It's
mode
similar.
of-
They're connected, but it's not identical.
and mode of love.
Well, they're in the same, sandbox, but they're not the same.
Can you give us difference between these three? And in which
Yeah,
way-
sure. Mood of gratitude is I have received a gift. Ultimately, I received a gift from Krishna, and I feel something. And that which you feel, having received this gift from Krishna, that's gratitude. And from gratitude will come, I want to do something. I want to do something to reciprocate with the kindness that I received, not just the gift, but the kindness that I received. And so let me do something, that's bhakti. Springing from gratitude. And for the pleasure of the gift-giving person, Krishna, ultimately. It may come through someone, but it's to Krishna, from Krishna to Krishna. And the mood of service to the name, or the mood of service to Krishna, is it's not dissimilar from either of those, but the connotation is like a fundamental foundation of my existence. Whether I'm honoring Krishna or not, I'm his eternal servant. That's just a reality, a fact of who I am. And acknowledging who I am is I'm striving to cultivate revive this mood of being the servant of Krishna in all that I do. Just across the board. As who I am. That's my self-realization meditation. And we'll start with the name. Servant of the name. Because Krishna makes himself available to me very readily through his name, through sound. A very merciful manifestation of Krishna. So that's there's some overlap, but those some ways of describing the distinction of those terms. How are we doing with time? We have a question or two? Go ahead.
Is it service in the mode of duty?
No. Well, it may start in the position of duty, but that's not, it's quite incomplete. If that's one's position, is that the reality of my life situation, then fine. But it's not complete. Like, let's just say, respecting elders. It's culture. I may do it out of duty, but it's not, necessarily a deep sense of eternal reality. It's just culture. I respect elders. And then comes a more profound sense of why is it important to respect elders, and what are the consequences of doing so, and the consequences of not doing so, the byproduct of dharma and adharma. But ultimately it's pleasing Krishna. So I may not have that light on, I may have the culture light on. Or maybe I'm American, I don't have any culture, I don't respect anybody. Unless they like me. I'm thinking of a certain person in the news a lot. That's the kind of personality he has. No culture. Unless he likes me. Hare Krishna. It's a free country, I can say those things. Some countries you can't say those things. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, this is follow up on the first question where Yamuna Juni asked. This question was raised in Chicago with Hare Krishna Maharaj presentation on the same topic. I heard.
When you do your hand motions, don't motion with the microphone because you lose your voice. People like to speak with their hands and stuff. Go ahead.
I'm trying to reconcile what I heard over there to be in line with what you have spoken about. The ultimate acceptance is towards the shelter of Krishna. But we do have a need.
Speak into the microphone. We do have a need.
We do have the need.
Ah.
We do have the need. We cannot just ignore them and is the Is the response I received it? Just want to reconcile.
So the reconciling is align your needs with a deeper need. And then the refinement of your needs with the deeper need. Again and again and again. It's not ignore them, but align them. Strive to align them. Give the microphone to her.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, when we are chanting, we always have to focus on the sound, not the form.
Not the form.
Yeah, but today's class, like on the very starting, we were mentioning, so when we really focus on the sound, Krishna will reveal his form.
Krishna will?
Reveal his form.
Well, if he wants to, sure.
So in that case, what is our focus like when
The name,
chanting?
the sound. It stays with the sound. Even when the form is manifest, it stays with the sound. The fullness of the sound becomes disclosed.
I'm always confused with this. Sometimes you think the Krishna's form while chanting.
That's
Still
okay.
You hear the sound.
That's okay. That's not a no-no. It's stay with the sound of the name. That's the message. Otherwise, what happens? The mind goes over there, and the next thing you know, the mind is over there and there and there and there and there. So, train the mind. Again, this is like, the question of duty and love. Until there's spontaneous attraction, it's duty. Stay with the name. Now, that's an accomplishment because the mind is offered a zillion other places besides the name. Not just the form, but a zillion other things. Everything is there. The whole spiritual world. Radha Krishna pastimes. Govardhan Hill. The cows. 900,000. Everything. Yamuna River. Everything is there. Everything. All those things. Krishna's not alone. Krishna's with all those, his abode and his devotees and his exchanges of love and his pastimes and his qualities, and everything is there. Because the name and Krishna are non-different, and Krishna is never alone. Everything is there. We're just distracted. So don't look for some loopholes. If the form of Krishna comes in your mind, stay, that's fine. Krishna's mercy. Stay with the name. Okay, last question. Was it time?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, I have a small clarification, please. If you could kindly go to that slide where you were stating about chanting in association of non-devotees. There was one slide.
Sure. I'll go there, but I want to hear your thing first. I don't want to be distracted as you're speaking.
I mean, I had this understanding, like if you chant, like attentively in like among non-devotees too, they also get the effect of chanting, being living or non-living.
Yes.
So like, like from my standpoint, like whenever I get a chance to, I know chanting and following the four regulative principles are the basis or the foundation for practicing
Yes.
Krishna consciousness.
Yes.
So my goal is to complete my chanting and like, serve Guru and Krishna. That's all. So whenever I get a chance, like even like if I have to wait to pick up my daughter or whatever place it could be, I chant. Is that okay?
Yes.
Because I was confused when I saw that
Okay.
slide.
So we need to go to the slide. I'll just explain. We're in a world where devotees are few. And in the world in which we live, just like this Jagai and Madhai slide, Lord Chaitanya sent Haridas Thakur and Lord Nityananda to give the holy name to others. Lord Nityananda decided, best, let's go for these two. Totally sinful. And when they become influenced by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, the glories of Lord Chaitanya will be known by everybody. Let's go. So I want to speak of what you said, but Lord Nityananda had the power that we don't have. But specifically the warning is participating in chanting where the sangha of those that are chanting are impersonalists. That's the warning. I'll give a personal example. Some years ago I was in college, and one of the first introductions to the Hare Krishna Mahamantra was a gentleman who had been a Harvard University professor, and he went to India, met a guru, and came back as a Mayavadi, and with a Sanskrit name. And he was traveling around the university circuit chanting Hare Krishna. We came to the university that I was attending, and I went to his program. And then I was attracted to the chanting of Hare Krishna. And it was, he had a way with words because he was a professor previously. So he would say, when chanting, become one with the chant. It sounded cool. I didn't know what it meant. Become one with the chant. And then I listened further, and it was, in the beginning, there's you and the chant. But after some time, it's just a chant. I left that fellow. And I didn't understand what impersonalism was at the time. I didn't even know the term. But it was, I become Krishna. That's what this fellow is saying. There's you and there's Krishna, and you and Krishna. Then there's just Krishna. The chant, the name. You become Krishna. Poor Krishna. That was my thought. It's ludicrous. And then fortunately, more association with devotees, and I came to know a different objective, that become one with the chant, but awaken your devotion for the name and the person name. Not just because it's monotheistic and that was conforming with my views from childhood, just deep inside it, the other one just didn't make sense. It was really not even an option to think of. But it was to be avoided because that chanting was poisonous. Milk touched by the lips of a serpent has poisonous effects. This man was a serpent. And I was being poisoned. Unfortunately, I got the antidote before I got, destroyed. But that's what it means. Not just in the association of people that don't know much about bhakti yet, and you shouldn't chant in that association and the name isn't there. That's not what it means. Okay? So we're going to end. Thank you all very much for coming. We'll see most of you tomorrow. There's one thing that comes to mind I've been forgetting. I have with me some of the videos of visits to, the Katha videos of visiting Dwarka, visiting Ayodhya, the last two Kartik visits to India. And if you don't have one and would like one, come see me and we'll discuss this. Donation connected. If you don't have the donation, I'll give you anyway and just work something out. But it's sharing something as a service, and also there's some service that I do for ISKCON, and it requires some assistance, and so I can help you and you can help that service that I do. Thank you very much. Prabhupada ki jai.
Romapada Swami Maharaja ki jai.
I haven't. Thank you.